Be surprised how many people watch us at home.
I know because I watch my town boards at home. Well, I say you do.
Okay, Maureen told me all I had to do was push,
Push the one with the
oh, there it is. Okay, July 18th, 2013, Planning Board meeting is now open. And the very first thing on our agenda is introducing our new town engineer, consulting engineer, Beals and Thomas. And step right up, and you can, so everybody at home and around the Raynham who's watching, welcome to Raynham. You submitted your proposal and it was accepted to be the new consulting engineer for Raynham. We had, as you know, I'm sure, Judith Nitch for how many years? 9 years? 10 years? Quite some time.
Somewhere in the 10 to 12, I think.
Yeah, so they've been here for quite a while and everything. We had a very good working relationship with them, and I guess we can hand it over to you just to introduce yourself. And
Yes, yeah, thanks. I wanted to come in and introduce myself. My name is George Preble. I'm the president of Beals and Thomas, and maybe I'll just give a brief introduction for the people at home as well, actually, but I did want to come in and personally thank the planning board for selecting us to be the consulting engineer. We had actually practiced in Raynham on a number of projects, most notably Raynham Woods in the past, and actually another principal of the company was also going to attend, but he's actually at a continuing education seminar on Rhode Island, and that there was not enough time to make John Bensley. You may have seen him before the board numerous times. John is very good. He's on the DEP Stormwater Management Board. But just a little bit about Beals and Thomas, but again, thank you again for selecting us. We're a 35-person firm made up principally of professional engineers, landscape architects, surveyors, planners, wetland scientists. Principally, our main office is in Southborough, Massachusetts, but we also have an office in Plymouth, Massachusetts. People work between the two offices. Most of our work actually is, as you may know from the work, the information we provided you, is private. We're probably 85% private work. The public work we do, we go after very selectively. We currently do peer reviews for the city of Quincy, town of Plymouth, town of Rentham, North Attleboro, and then selected ones people put out an RFP for an individual project, but we look at it pretty selectively in terms of what we're going to do. And the reason I say that is because we're essentially practitioners. Our clients are large corporate clients. Probably the largest is EMC Corporation, 80 Makepeace Corporation, but we also work for schools, private schools. We design parks for the city of Worcester. We work for the Attorney General's office on land takings. As well as other nonprofit trustees of reservations, Goodwill Industries, so on and so forth. We try and have a diverse group of people. The company will celebrate its 30th anniversary next year. Most of the people that are there, interestingly enough, of 35 people, 7 have been there 25 years, 7 have been there 20 years, 7 have been there 15, and then the remainder is a mixture, but most people tend to make their careers at Beals and Thomas, and most people are involved in either professional society or actually in their local community. We have several people on their planning boards or conservation commissions, as well as people who are active in professional societies. And what we like to do, as evidenced by, we have some long-term relationships. We actually like to make a relationship with the boards and in the towns that we work for. We're not always on the clock on a specific project. If there was an issue that the board felt that they needed us to provide some expertise and, call us up on the phone. We consider ourselves to be a resource for the board and the town itself. There are a number of regulations that come up, how it affects the sewer department, water department, the town, so on and so forth. We're here to advise it as well because, the projects are fine to look that developers pay for that through the 53G funds, but we do like to make a connection with the town and support them as anything comes up. But that's who we really are. I just wanted to come in and say thank you and introduce the company. As you may know, also within our proposal, we team with Vanessa & Associates, who are a renowned traffic engineer. The way we've worked with Vanessa & Associates for years, they have about the same, actually, timeframe as us, actually. We don't have traffic in-house. We've never had it because we always thought of traffic as a specialty and hire the best people for the project that you have at the time. And so that's why we use Finesse pretty much. So that's who we are, and I didn't know if there were any questions. I really just wanted to come in and say thank you. I know I only have 5 minutes.
Yeah, well,
and that's fine.
we have, obviously, you know, a 5-member board. We have
Yes.
Henry Ellis, who's not here tonight. We're kind of on summer schedule.
Mhm.
Chris Gallagher, who is our clerk. I'm Danny Andrade.
Yes.
President. The chairman is Burke Fountain, and we have Russ Driscoll. Question that I have, Judith Nitch was working with Conservation also, and I'm not sure how, is Conservation going to be looking for looking for Beals and Thomas's input again, like they did with,
Maybe on specific projects, but I
okay,
don't know about as a whole.
okay.
It might depend what they have in front of them.
Because I know that John was working on several things for them.
And we do that for different towns. And actually, quite frankly, sometimes, I mean, the work we've done in the past with North Attleboro as well as other towns, I mean, it depends on the timing of the permits. As you know, if someone comes in with a notice of intent, and that's a separate process, or people come in with a site plan review. But actually, if they're concurrent, we actually have copied, if they want it, we've copied our comments to the planning board to the Conservation Commission. If they choose to use them, that's fine. But other times, we've been retained independently, you know, in Rentham, as well as North Attleboro and so on and so forth, and a number of other.
Yeah.
It's usually the timing. We try and make it so that, you know, we're in the same position where you hope that the comments will be the same. There's a consistency of comments, actually, that you hoped. You don't want to be caught between two boards and so on and so forth. We're very sensitive to that because we have our work reviewed all the time. We know when we've had a good review, because actually the peer review is intended to make the project better. It isn't a mercenary type of activity. It really is intended to make a project better. And there's a way to do a peer review where people, the wording that you may use and the demeanor that you take that gets people to cooperate rather than, there are specific ways to do a peer review that I think invites people to make a project better, if it can be made better. And
Right.
actually, if we have a project and it's a good project, we tell the town it's a good project. We don't feel necessary to add 20 comments to a project that doesn't deserve 20 comments.
Well, I think just two important comments. The first is, we have a 5-member board, the applicant, their engineer, their attorneys, they come in front of us. We have a review engineer who's reviewing it for the town. And what really bothers me sometimes is when we seem to get to the end of a project, close to the end, and we are trying to complete it, and we're letting things, we're being asked to make waivers on issues that should have been addressed throughout at least the second half of that project. And I just scratched my head and I said, why are we in this position? When we have a highway department, we have a planning board, we have an engineering firm, the applicant has his own engineering firm.
That's right.
And at the end, we're asking for, say, pavement to be 3 inches higher than it's supposed to be, and, you know, and we have to do a special berm because the water's not going in the right direction.
Right.
I
I know, actually, I would tell you, actually, as I mentioned, the reason I'm sensitive to that is because, A, I'm sensitive to I was on the planning board for a brief period of time, my town as well, and the amount of time, I don't think people sometimes realize the amount of time volunteer boards spend. I actually never really want to be involved with the project after a third iteration. We do a very complete review the first time around. We very rarely make a comment, you know, the second time around that should have been made the first time. I actually can't think of a time. I'm sure we've done it, but we try and give the boards an administrative record the way we do our reviews. We provide the review, and the way we structure the review is that if the applicant will give a response to it, our second letter really says, here's the response, here's where it stands right now, And if there is a waiver that's required, we actually try to establish an administrative record, so if people are asking for a waiver, tell us why you need the waiver, what's the hardship for the waiver, what's the reason for the waiver, so it's identified early on, not as the process unfolds. It's because someone really didn't understand that they needed a waiver as it went along.
Yeah, well, that's, and that's one thing that really drives me nuts, because I just don't understand how we,
Right.
all us intelligent departments and people can get to the end and we're making those decisions that we shouldn't be making.
Right.
It just seems to be crazy. The other thing is, I'm glad to hear 80% of your work is private, because you, I am sure, are aware that working for private people, the funds that are spent are another issue.
Oh, yeah.
And hiring a firm as yourself, being from, further away, sometimes it comes up that, the applicant has to spend $300, $175 to get somebody here, and $175 to send them back home before they even do anything.
Right.
So I would just like to bring that up very first thing is, if in cases that you don't need a senior person to be doing site visits, I would just like to put that right out there
Right,
up
yeah,
front, that where
Yeah.
you're looking out for the
Right.
town, but you're also looking out for the applicant, because I feel that planning board is a very helpful and good
Yep.
community to be building in, whether it's commercial, residential, or what have you. And I just don't like to be viewed as a board or a town that's not willing to, open its doors for whether it's locals or it's outsiders.
Right, and that's why I refer to the way we do the reviews. There's a way to do the review. It's very straightforward. There's no mercenary aspect to it. It is what it is. I hate to use a trite phrase like that, but it is. We never use, there's different language you can use as well. Like I said, I have my work peer reviewed all the time, and I know when I've had a good peer review. People point out things that could have been made better, or there's something could have been done a little bit better. But actually, even to go to your point about people traveling to the site, it's interesting because we do have private clients, and it's interesting, we do have people come out and look construction inspection. It's usually one or two people, unless it's an issue that requires someone like myself. They're very, very qualified people. Usually they're an EIT level person, but we have PEs come out as well. What we have in place at our office is, if there's an inspection request that we have to come out to look at a project, we actually have one person do all the field inspections. For example, if we're doing an inspection for a private client in Wareham or Carver, or doing work in Rentham, we have to do that. We actually try and coordinate it so that it's all in one swoop. That's as much for our benefit as well, because to have people, one person coming down to Carver, then going back, then go to Raynham, then come back, then go to North, that we've instituted that as well, because it only makes it efficient. We can't justify the cost of a 1 hour visit turning into, sometimes that does happen. It's a very special. I've known instances where there's a major issue, there's an issue with a drainage issue, someone needs to come down, they come down. But the reality is we're very conscious of that, actually. Because of actually our private clients are very conscious of that.
Well, that's why I say it's
is.
nice to hear that
Yeah,
80%
it
of
is.
your clients, because
Yeah.
you are, especially when the economy is the way it is,
Right.
people are probably think twice before they call you to come out to the field to make an inspection, and sometimes things can be overlooked because of that. So that was
That's
pretty much.
And actually, that's why, going, not to belabor this, but when I said we see ourselves as a resource for the town, that's actually the way we work for our private clients, because as you know, private clients, we spend a lot of time marketing. We send proposals out for different so instead of spending money on a proposal, we'd rather just, within reason, do the work. If someone had a question, it's easy for us to spend an hour. If someone in town had a question about a new regulation, it's easy enough to do that, because typically, when you're dealing with municipalities, we have the same sort of private
Yeah,
come
oh, well, that's
in.
good.
So
That's good
just-
to hear. I'll pass along to Burke. Burke, you have any other?
Do you have a particular person that we will be seeing regularly?
Yeah, it actually will either be, I'm the client contact actually, but actually John Bensley actually is probably going to be the person that you'll see a lot of. And I think you may know John because he actually worked in town on Raynham Woods. He's very familiar with Raynham itself. We actually put in a team of people in the proposal, and those people were selected actually because of, what their expertise is. If it's a wetland issue, it would be Stacy Minahan from our office. If it's construction inspection, it may be probably Jeff Murphy, who's in the IT fellow. And if there's a planning issue, typically that's an in-house issue, not necessarily coming in, would be Dave Johnson of our office. But those are principally the people, myself, John Bensley, Stacy. Dave LaPointe is a landscape architect. One thing I should mention is when we do a review, we don't do a purely engineering review, and it doesn't cost more to do this. We split it up in a way because many times on a site plan, there's an aesthetic that a landscape architect brings to it. And the reality of it is the way we design our projects, we use civil engineers, wetland specialists, landscape architects. For example, landscape architects, for us, mostly design the layout of parking lots, islands, pedestrian ways, to do that. It's usually not done by an engineer purely. We have those people working together because there are different issues, ADA. We review the projects essentially the way we design them. So that, there may be a couple of people involved in the review because typically it's not purely an engineering exercise. It's not all drainage. Sometimes these come down to a large discussion on drainage, and I think there's a bigger picture sometimes. I learned my lesson years ago on that when I started doing reviews, try and help the board understand what they're actually approving, because there may be an issue that is probably more important than the engineering of it, quite frankly.
Well, talking about landscaping, it annoys me when I get a plan and the buffer is a white pine tree
Right.
that you can see right through 12
Right.
months of the year. It's no buffer whatsoever.
Right. And that's actually, we do look at that, actually, in all seriousness. And actually, interestingly enough, we do work for Plymouth, actually, and interestingly enough, there are plants that are not salt tolerant, and so if people plant them in the wrong place, they will not survive, and it's just a matter of, education, because sometimes those are not done by landscape architects, they're done by people who have a preference for a specific species, but it doesn't really work in a specific environment. So, we've reviewed that for towns before as well, if they're proposing a certain amount of plants. And sometimes actually the plants that people are proposing actually on the retention basins are invasives. DEP has a list of plants you should select, but interestingly enough, that does come up from time to time when there's an issue.
We really hate it when we get a 10-page report. We really think that, and time goes both ways. It's not
Right.
always your fault. Sometimes the other people don't get the stuff to you until 2 days
Right.
before the hearing.
Mhm.
But, if there's 10 pages worth of comments,
Right.
we want you and the other engineer to sit down
Oh, that's
and
good to know,
get it
actually.
down to
Yep.
a couple of
Yep.
pages, or things that you guys just cannot agree on, and we have to make the call.
Well, that's good to know, because actually some towns do not like you to have a separate conversation with the engineer. We prefer it, actually, because I would prefer, if someone's reviewing my work, that I would have an opportunity to explain to them what we're doing, because the reality of it is, the person who designs the project knows more about it than the person who's reviewing it. And basically because you've gone through different iterations, there may be a reason why something is like that. We rarely have 10 pages of comments. I will say that we approach it sometimes, but only because, and I don't know if they do this, we actually use, it's so easy to do now, we use digital photography, as well as if there's an important feature of the site plan that is demonstrated by literally scanning in. It's so easy to do now. You scan in the portion of the plan you're talking about to illustrate to you, rather than you have to go, well, what is this guy talking about on page 5 of this plan? This is, we've done that before. We've inserted aerial photographs to demonstrate. For example, like the one I'm thinking of is, we reviewed a subdivision plan, and actually where the road was going to, vehicles exiting the roadway would have their lights directly on the house across the street. They could shift it. And so the response originally, they didn't really want to shift it. So we just put in an aerial photo, showed where the proposed road was going to be. If they shifted it 10 feet, it alleviated this problem. We don't always make design but actually this was easy to accomplish. So, I mean, things like that we put in our reports as well. It isn't usually 10 pages of technically, technical comments or, coefficient, this coefficient or that coefficient, drainage. Drainage does tend to take up a lot of commentary, so I think that actually can be weeded out if there's an opportunity to talk to the
Well, you can pretty much tell the other side that if it comes before us with 10 pages, we're going to tell you
Right.
guys to go home and work it out.
Right.
They're not going to get any progress made before us until they get it down.
If we receive your report and there's more than 12
Items on it, that's usually our cutoff point. We will open up the hearing, but we will immediately continue the hearing. We don't even want to, we're not even going to discuss it, only because we're discussing all these things that they're going to have to go back and work on. And if there's more than 12 items on that list, then that means they haven't spent enough time with you.
Yeah, well, that's good to know.
Your
A
firm.
lot of towns don't do that.
Well,
That's good.
we used to leave here at midnight. That doesn't work too well.
No, it doesn't, because I used to leave public hearings at midnight too.
It's kind of nice, it's,
Yeah.
we've been slower, obviously, but the
Right.
economy's been slower, but it's nice when you're,
Well, the reality is, no one in a public forum wants to start dealing with the minutia of different issues that could be readily resolved, especially, there may be bigger issues the board wants to be aware of and so on and so forth. But,
yep.
That's all I have.
Russ?
Just tying in with what Burke was saying on having conversations with the other engineer. We've run into the trouble before where sometimes the review or the comments doesn't get done until so close to the meeting that there isn't time to do that.
All right, yeah.
So, don't wait till Thursday morning of the meeting if possible. I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah.
get it when you get it, but, the sooner you can start looking at these, the more time you have to take
Yeah,
care
we
of
typ-
those issues.
Yeah, we typically ask that people give it to us, that allows 2 weeks. to do it. I mean, we've done them quicker, actually, if people actually need them, but 2 weeks is, that's a reasonable time to get it, undertake it, talk 1 or 2 times, and issue a letter. It's a reasonable time.
Well, I would almost like to throw one other thing out there, while we're talking about that same thing. If you are saying that you'd like to have 2 weeks, and that's fine. If you feel that the applicant is not prepared or not ready for his scheduled hearing, then you can also make the suggestion that he ask for a continuance.
Okay, that's good.
Because if not, it's just going to be, everybody's going to be coming in front of
Oh, I
us.
know.
We're going to be doing an awful lot of discussion, and it's all going to be for nothing.
Yep.
And it's very easy, Maureen's down there all the time. On talking with outside engineering firms, applicants, engineering firms, we do allow that. The one thing, it has to be directed through the planning office, though.
Okay.
If we don't like to have developers calling you up for an inspection
Oh,
because
no, that's, I agree.
we're out of the
Yeah.
loop. Everything has to go through the office.
Yep.
Once it goes through the office, emails are fantastic. It's
Yes.
yes, no.
Yep.
It's real simple.
Yeah, no, we would prefer the inspection to go through it as well, and the original plans. It's interesting, some towns won't even allow a applicant to send us the plan separately, which I think, I would recommend that you do. Actually, most towns do, but some towns don't, because it makes it much easier. What happens actually is I'll get the plan and I'll look at it, and I have a general sense as to who's done it, how big it is, how complex it is. Actually, it's how long it's going to take us to review it. And
Right.
we give a proposal to the board saying, this is what we think it's going to take. Do this so everyone knows up front that
Yeah.
we can secure the 53G funds as well.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. Maureen, do you have any issues that we've had maybe in the past that,
I can't think of any now.
well, I guess when an applicant comes in and files, do we hand them a sheet, like a cover sheet with the all the pricing,
No, no.
hourly pricing, you know?
No,
Is
we
that
never have
something?
in the past.
Is that something that, you know, we should do? Is that,
Well, you know what we do is, like I said, we give a proposal to you saying, this is what we think it's gonna cost to review this. You know, so then you can secure the funds, you know, a small project, it's different than a large project, actually.
So I guess-
When you say the review, because you might be out with construction supervising,
Mhm.
we take soil samples sometimes as they're putting down
Yep.
pavement.
Mhm.
You know, when you say, so are you including all of those?
No, this
things?
is really, I was referring to like a review, quite frankly. In construction, quite frankly, we give proposals for construction as well, because what we do is, we ask the person on the construction to give us a schedule. And schedules do change, but particularly with construction. We ask people to give us a schedule. We have a general sense of when we want to be on there, and we'll say an initial budget, we'll say, okay, you know, based on the schedule that you have, we'll be out there X amount of times. There's a report involved, prepare an initial budget of this, and then they have our hourly rate as well. And if that gets exhausted because it goes on, rather than 4 months, it goes on 6 months, then we.
or 2 years?
2 years,
And I
right.
think where
Yeah.
Burke is going and saying with that,
Yeah.
as long as we're not, it's not a proposal to the applicant as a fixed type
No,
number, because,
no, it isn't. It's
Anything-
estimated for
okay.
this scope of work.
so it's just an estimate. What that's gonna do is that's gonna allow the board to look at your number,
Right,
and when the plans are being filed, that's what we're gonna be looking for
from the applicant.
from the applicant.
Exactly, right.
And then periodically, as we go throughout the project, like we do now,
Replenish it, yeah.
we might have to ask for additional funds.
Exactly. right.
Okay.
And that's what we do, that we keep up with that. You know, typically in our proposals, we include 2 public hearings. Actually, interestingly enough, some towns actually do not want you to include more than 1 public hearing. And if it goes to a second, you ask for additional services. It would be preferable, because typically there is 1 to 2 public hearings, depending on how big the project is. You can predict or you can have a general sense of when a hearing is going to have 2 public hearings. And we put in the allowance for that, you know, if it ends up going on and on and on, which we actually don't want it to do, because even though we're, you know, reimbursed for it, I take no pleasure in coming 4 times to talk about the same issue. And that's why we really try not to get involved in that type. You know, there are times, actually, we were involved in a project where, because of the comments we made, they actually significantly redesigned the project, actually. It was on the highway, so it needed it. So that actually was a fairly expensive process for the person. It was all, I mean, they accepted it, they agreed actually at the time, but I'm just saying that's why I usually try and look at the project, get a general sense of what it's gonna cost to review it.
I think the only real project that we had, I don't think Raynham has room for another Walmart, so we have 2 now. That was the only one that I can remember that was about 6 or 7 or 8 hearings, and it was over and over and over, and that just was, I even think I started bringing in coffee and donuts for those hearings. So, yeah, I think most of the developments are, you know, pretty cut and dry. We do appreciate, obviously, design changes. We don't say, here's the plan, and just, you know, review it. If there's a better way to enter or exit, that's what our goal is.
Right, yep.
Is to
And that's
make
what ours is,
it,
too.
to make it the best possible way. We're not engineers, and sometimes we sit up here and do a better driveway.
A lot of it's
Enter-
common sense.
Exactly.
No, I mean.
Exactly. And, you know, we look at it and we say, what's the rest of the plan look like if this is what we're, you know, we can see that it needs to be adjusted, and so we don't mind, you know.
No, that's fine, and this is a reason, that's why I said the person who designed it sometimes usually knows much more about why something's even awkward. There's an easement they couldn't set, but
Right,
there's some
right.
issue that isn't readily apparent to everyone unless you talk to them.
Well, very good.
Yep.
Anything else?
Good. Well, nice to meet you.
Well, fantastic. Yep, nice to meet you.
Yep.
We will start forwarding.
Sure.
We do have 2 good-sized projects. One is Walmart that we will be looking for some review information. Now, we should have all the information, the approvals, the plans, so they can almost, they're gonna have to review Nich's review.
Do you think pretty much the whole file?
Maybe what to do is, maybe he can, maybe you can let Maureen know,
Yep.
or maybe one of, yourself or somebody can come to the office.
Sure.
We have an extra office down there with a table, maybe you can look at it and see what you're gonna need to get
Yeah.
up to speed with
Yeah,
those
no,
two.
we'd be happy to do it, because I think we really need the approved plans, the decision, and maybe the final review letter to see how things are resolved. I don't know how they structured their review letter. The way we structure our review letter is, the last letter has everything. It has the original comment, the response, whether it's acceptable or not. If it goes twice, it keeps a record of it, so you don't have to look at 6 different letters, actually. That
And
way
what we might even wanna do, Maureen, is, because Judith Nitch was working with the conservation also, I think that we should get conservation information, and if conservation was relevant to that project, which I think both of them were. I think we should get their information and their decision, and
Okay.
DEP, it'll have all that information in it, which, again, we're giving you 2 of our largest projects in
Oh,
Raynham.
no, it's fine, I appreciate it.
And,
Many of it is like, the erosion control, it's usually actually, that is on the same plan set, conservation and. planning
right,
board,
it
so
should
it's
be,
easy
but
yeah.
just in case
Well, there may be special conditions.
we
That's
lost
the issue.
our, we don't have a real conservation person.
Mm-hmm.
We do, we have a secretary, but, so just to make sure that everything comes together,
Yep, absolutely.
and we're not looking at, final occupancy permits, and we're all being asked, to waive
Right.
things.
Right,
So I think, just to get up to speed,
absolutely.
Okay,
I think,
get it all together.
and then if there's any other projects that you know of that we have on the board downstairs,
We'll be coming up with review.
yeah, do the
Okay.
same thing, and then if
Yeah.
if you're in the area, you know
Yeah,
what's
we-
coming up.
I actually come by, I actually go between Plymouth and Southborough quite a bit, so this is very easy, actually.
Yeah, and that way there, you're up to speed on, all our current projects, and Judith and Nitch did extend out that they would, be
Yep.
more than willing to work on projects that are in-house already, and I would rather move forward
Okay,
with,
that's fine.
with our new firm.
Good. Well, thank you again.
All right.
And, I'll be in touch with Maureen, and thanks again.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
All righty. Okay. Attorney Ed Brennan, discussion roadway improvements, Carlton Street. State your name for the record.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Ed Brennan. I'm an attorney with an office at 1 Church Green in Taunton. And I'm here tonight for discussion purposes on behalf of Joanne Spengler, who's the trustee of the trust that owns 2 lots on Carlton Street, which is off of Raymond Street. If I may approach the bench, I have a plan I can lay out for you.
Yeah, you can put it right here.
I understand this has been before the board before. I don't think for any official action, but for discussion purposes once before as well. And as a result of the discussions with the planning board, the property owner did approach the Raynham zoning board for a variance, which was denied. So we're back to the drawing board in a sense, and these concept plans were prepared by Silver Engineering Associates a few years ago. And I just wanted to bring them back to the board and refresh the board's memory a little bit about the situation that's out there. Carlton Street is a paper street. It's not constructed on the ground. I understand that you may be able to see where it is. It's quite overgrown, but there may be some remnants of an old road there. But I think it's fair to characterize it as a paper street. Pine Street is a paper street. I think that dead ends, and Raymond Street is built upon. So there are a number of houses coming down in a westerly direction on Raymond Street, including one at the very end where it takes a left and goes to Carlton Street. The proposal by my client is to construct some improvements to Carlton Street that would be sufficient to service 2 lots, divide their property into 2 and construct 2 single-family homes. So my purpose of stopping in tonight was just to see what the board, I understand you're not in any position to make any commitments, and it's just discussion purposes, but there are 3 concepts there. One is a build-out under the subdivision rules at the top of the page, and the other 2 are build-outs with waivers. One being a dirt cul-de-sac with the pavement ending at approximately 50 or 60 feet from Pine Street, and the bottom one has a hammerhead built into one of the 2 lots. Obviously, I believe, maybe not obviously, but I believe the first concept at the top of the page, where you'd have a build-out meeting all of the requirements of the subdivision rules and regs, would likely make this a cost-prohibitive project. It wouldn't work. The other 2 concepts with some waivers, and I'm not prepared to tick off the waivers that we'd be requesting, but I think one of those 2 may be adequate to service the 2 lots, including, I think the board would likely suggest that you may end up through another property owner, there could be another lot on the other side of Carlton Street, and maybe the board would say we have to take that into consideration. I believe that if possible, the property owner could cut off maybe 1 more lot on the other side of Carlton. So I just thought I could engage the board in some discussion about what the board might be looking for to improve Carlton Street.
Well, I think the first thing is ownership of the paper street. That was one issue that we had, I believe, the first time around. Ownership of the paper street. You say that this plan shows that it can be built, but if I remember, Mr. Gallagher mentioned that this radius could not be done according to subdivision control law, and I'm not sure why. I just remember something about radius coming in here that was this on this person's property. We did see pictures of this, the paper street.
Yeah.
Although it was mentioned that it's been maintained, access was quite overgrown. I don't think that you could get a vehicle through
No,
there.
but a paper street could be completely obliterated as far as on the ground goes. It's not a matter
All
of
all
what
I'm
you
doing
can
is
see.
bringing up issues that that were brought up at the first meeting.
And the ownership of it, I mean, I don't think the owner, who owns the Carlton Street is going to be something that the planning board's going to make a ruling on. It's a paper street, we have a deed reciting the frontage on the street, and it'll be our position that we own to the center line, the other property owns to the center line, and each party has the right to improve a paper street to access their property. So ownership, I think we could certainly clear that hurdle, and once you have ownership on a paper street, you have the right to improve the paper street to access your property. So it's not as if we're asking to go across someone else's property. The street first shows up, I believe, in maybe, don't hold me there, but maybe in the 20s and the 30s or earlier, and I believe there may have been some plans, well, certainly on, not Pine Street, but Raymond Street, there are some plans that were signed by the planning board, I believe all the way down to the end, where this gentleman built his house on this side, right here, number 73. So there's a history of Raymond and Carlton, and I mean, I don't think we're going to resolve it. If the board says we don't have access, I don't know how we'll ever resolve that unless you want me to try to convince the board that we
Well,
do
no,
have
you
the
just
right.
got through saying that your client owns to the center of the road.
Correct,
Okay, well, if the other people on the other side of the street own to the center of the road,
correct.
then they can, you're working on,
No, they own to the center of the line, but their ownership within the paper street is subject to my rights to use the paper street. It's not an exclusive ownership. So
okay.
you own to the center of the street, subject to the other owners.
So they're not gonna cut, they
improving.
can't kind of put barriers up or
They
put a
can't.
fence down the middle of the road?
They can't. Unless, if it was ever abandoned, each party would take, or discontinued, or whatever you would do for a paper street, each party would then take to the center line. but this street, there's never been an abandonment of the street. So we each own to the center line, but your ownership is subject to my right to build.
Do you know how many other pieces of property can be built? Like what's across the street, these house lots that are gonna be coming in front of us? Here,
Well,
here?
this is already built upon.
Well, that's 1.2 acres with how much frontage, so why couldn't that get
No,
cut
it was-
off?
well, when I looked at their deed, they had less than 300 feet of frontage on Carlton. So there wouldn't be 300 to put two lots on the street. That's what I was saying before, you might take into consideration the building of a house, one more house on this side of the street, and some combination of those properties. But we haven't, taken any steps to find out how many people are out there. But I think you would be reasonable to say, okay, that certainly you could end up someone using that same Carlton Street improvements to access their lot on the other side of the street. But where it goes down in the Pine, you can see some wetland line information on the plan.
From Pine, I'm concerned with too, Carroll Road, where, somebody puts a house in, somebody else in, and it just keeps going, and instead of putting a proper street in, it's, Pine Street goes to Sandy Hill, and Sandy Hill is built out, so if I owned that property on Pine Street, and I had Carlton Street on one end and Sandy Hill on the other, I'd be before the planning board looking for what you're looking for now.
Well, and maybe it would be something less than a full construction to planning board rules and regs. I'm not asking for a cart path, and I understand that you can look ahead to see what might be down the line. And one of the things that I would look at is maybe get more information on the wetland lines here and see what the status would be of the area of Pine Street that's not shown on the plan. And maybe then we can make a reasonable.
What is the red dotted line?
100-foot buffer is one of them. Wetland line and a buffer. I think that this might be a wetland line, that might be a buffer. I'm not sure the scale on it.
So if this is the wetland line, and if the
I'm
wetland's
sorry,
cutting,
what is that? I'm reading upside down.
limited of
There's the
watering
wetland.
vegetation,
Is this 100 feet from the,
this says 100 feet.
yeah. That's
Because if this is all cut off at wetlands, and there's not gonna be any more development, and Pine Street won't be connected to Silver.
Well, I think that's worth looking at a little further, to see what the status is of the end of Pine Street. I don't have that information tonight. I understand you can certainly take all these things into consideration when trying to decide what might be adequate improvements to
I see a hydrant,
Raymond.
so I'm presuming Raymond Street has water.
water and sewer.
Sewer.
How many houses on Raymond,
On Raymond,
do you know, offhand?
I have a copy of a portion of the assessors map. Let me see.
I mean,
I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm looking at 6 over just a portion of Raymond. No, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 if you go on both sides of the street.
What's the condition of Raymond Street?
I haven't been now. But you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
now Raymond is off of South Street, so South Street's up here?
Yeah. I was down Raymond a couple of years ago.
So Street, Raymond, Carlton. So it's before Sandy Hill. There's Sandy Hill
Oh, this
down
is,
here.
I'm thinking of this little loop here.
Yeah.
This Raymond Street, they just did,
Probably brought the sewer down there.
they just got the repaving there, I think it was early this spring. They repaved that road, I don't know if it was sewer, water, or something that they were doing down there.
This is the piece. This is Raymond Street.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's gonna be critical, this line here, what's it do?
Right.
It's not your property, but still, if we feel that there's gonna be another 10 houses on here, and this is gonna be an access, we have to have this built out to accept these people taking responsibility from here down. But that's
you know, again, your client doesn't have to pay for this down, but he, you know, that's gonna determine how much build-out this is gonna need. You know, we're gonna have 15 people traveling this road, or are we only gonna have 2? So I think, you know,
Because you could almost see that,
a little bit of
depending
help.
on that land, somebody might say, hey, I'll tie into this street right here and maybe get something.
Well, without knowing very much,
Thank you.
Well, I understand.
Hold that thought, Mr. Brown.
yeah, I'm holding my thought.
Behind that.
I'm holding my thought.
Hold that, I'm sorry, hold that thought. Okay.
Based on the limited amount of information I have, I can't see putting in a cul-de-sac. So I'd probably be willing to go with the hammerhead, but I definitely want it paved. That's my guess so far.
I'll do some more, I mean, tonight was just for discussion, and I appreciate the feedback, give me a little direction. I understand there's no commitments. But I'll look a little more into the potential, the development potential of the vacant land to the, I think it was to the south of it, and see what that looks like, and maybe get some aerial photos on the wetlands, et cetera. And then come back in, probably once more for further discussion with that information before I suggest to the client that he commission any more engineering.
If even only one more house can be built across the street, I would be pushing for a cul-de-sac. If this is just for, you know, you say the rest of it's underwater, there's proof, there's only 2 lots.
Well, yeah, the underwater's down here, so I'm
You know,
presuming
if somebody's
that
gonna
this
build
is-
over here, then there's gonna be traffic coming down here. To have a turnaround like that, we did it on a couple of spots, but mainly for, basically, that was it. There was nothing ever being built beyond that point.
One of the other things we could do is, I could suggest, as it does on the plan here, I think the pavement is ending somewhere around here, that the cul-de-sac be laid out, but if someone else comes back in and they want to put a house using this, then some of the burden could be shifted over to the next person as well. But it's all laid out and engineered, but not necessarily paid for by
Well,
this
the only
guy.
problem
But all
is-
laid out.
I am sure, is that Raymond Ave or Raymond Street? Is Raymond Ave paved?
Yeah,
I think so,
I think
Then
so.
I'm gonna, whatever we come up with, whatever width this becomes, I would want that to be paved too. So if this is paved, then I would say that the cul-de-sac is gonna have to be done at the same time. And again, you know, that's just,
Well, it shows pavement up to here, so that wouldn't be, you could say that's not enough to service the next lot, and then the next
Well-
lot owner could get strapped with.
then even if,
paving.
even if it was graded out and
Yeah.
it was crushed stone,
Right.
you
It'd
know,
all be
pitched
laid
and
out on
everything.
the plan.
You know, this would have to be, because obviously Carlton Street, being a paper street, does not include this piece, so this is gonna have to be,
Correct. That comes out of our lot.
that's gonna have to come out and be part of Carlton Street.
Right.
So somebody could get access to do paving or drainage or whatever else we require. That would, you know, that's, just looking at it and giving you feedback, that's what I would say. But if you give us information on, you know, potentially, and it's potentially, nothing's in concrete, but if we're gonna have 15 more houses down there, then I'm gonna look at it as 30 more cars a day crossing Carlton Street and Raymond Ave. And, you know, what's Raymond Ave? Can Raymond Ave handle that many more cars? And is that something that we're gonna have to look at for the next people? If this person comes in and develops up to here, gives up this land for the cul-de-sac, makes it a gravel, and we know, okay, that's safe, fire department, for these 2 houses. Next person comes in, we're not doing the same thing, we already have our answer. We already know Raymond Ave needs drainage, we already know Raymond Ave needs to be repaved, we already know this, you know what I'm saying? So we have, if we know people are gonna be coming, knocking on the door, the one thing we always have issues with is, you know, what's beyond those trees?
Right.
And I think if we can kind of head that off at the beginning, then I think it'll make it a lot easier. Because when somebody says it can't be built on,
Oh,
there's
is it
always a,
Rogers Ave? Was that the one?
there's
Is that the
always,
street?
Rogers Ave was that,
Yeah,
One of many.
yeah.
it's the only one I was here for.
So that's our input.
Well, I appreciate your comments, gentlemen.
All right. We have, Lot 10, Forge River Park, site plan, public hearing. I do have a letter asking for a continuance. I would like to postpone the meeting we have scheduled for July 18th until your next meeting, August 1st, 2013. George Turner, Turner Brothers.
What date was he asking?
He's asking for August 1st.
I make a motion that we continue the public hearing until August 1st at,
We can put him down for 6:10.
There's somebody at 6:10,
Oh,
6:20? Fine.
put him down for 6:20. I would put him before, but that's good, that's gonna require more than.
Yeah.
So 6:20, August 10th. Lot 10, Forge River Park, site plan, public hearing is continued. Discussion, FedEx, abbreviated site plan. How are you?
Not bad, how about yourself?
Good.
Excellent. For the record, Jonathan Novak, Conoco Engineers, Scientists and Surveyors, representing FedEx. I'm here tonight to request a waiver for a fee reduction for the abbreviated site plan submittal that we have submitted to you guys. I was here about a month ago and got the approval to to submit the abbreviated site plan. The town fee for administrative fee is $250 plus 25 cents per square foot of total buildings, which in this case would be an approximately $30,000 filing fee. We're not doing anything to the exterior of the building. We're not proposing any new building. We're just doing some exterior site work, some realignment of the pavement for the truck access.
Have you submitted your plans?
Yes, we submitted the plans. We submitted all of the fees except the 25 cents per square foot. So we were here to get.
Now, our bylaw states that the fees be paid upon file. We cannot, you can ask for a waiver or a reduction of fees the night we have your hearing. We're not opening up the meeting, and we're not even going to accept receiving the plans unless we have all the fees. That's just
Okay.
That's just the way it has to be. So the night you come back in front of us, which is,
Actually, and this hearing's already been scheduled, because there was a little confusion over this.
no, I
Yeah,
understand
okay.
that, but still,
Right.
We will have,
Explain.
we will have the fee for you. The question for discussion purposes is, will there be,
we're not shrewd. Raynham is very, and I think this board is very accommodating.
okay,
When it,
Hold on, I'm gonna go back and
when-
look at my FedEx bills over the past few months.
when it comes to those things, we're not looking to gouge anybody.
all right.
We just need to stay consistent when it comes to that, because, trust me, you're not the only one that asked to have fees waived. Maureen cannot accept, and generally cannot accept, all of her paperwork to even get it on file unless we have the fees. And you, obviously, in my opinion, what you have to pay for fees is far beyond the amount of work you're doing. It's a process that you have to follow.
Mhm.
I did speak to Maureen, and I do think, the board will discuss in the future for making some accommodations in our fee schedule for stuff like this that comes up, so we're not burdening somebody out to write that check and then take it back.
Okay.
But at this point, you have to drop the check off. If you don't, you won't be on for August 1st at 6:10. And at that point, you can ask for a reduction of fees.
Okay.
Like I said, we're very accommodating. We're
All
not-
right. Well, we will provide the check to you prior to the meeting, and then however long it takes them to
Now,
FedEx me the
now,
check.
by you coming in again tonight, though, you dug into your fees a little more, because it's based on how much time that Maureen has to put into it. And you've been talking to Maureen quite a bit, so you better keep your mouth quiet and just drop that check off and then show
I've
up
come
at...
into the building a couple of times and made sure to avoid her, because I know she doesn't want to see me anymore, so.
So,
But, all right, we will have the check for you, and we will continue the discussion on the first thing.
all right?
All right, thank you for your time.
Very good, thank you. I- Okay, Todd Hamilton, lot releases, Lincoln Woods. Leases, lot releases, and not fee reductions.
You guys,
Please state your name for the record.
Todd Hamilton,
Okay.
you guys signed a modification plan for me, maybe 3 weeks ago, so. And-
Was this the two
Yes,
little wing roads that one was paved, one was gravel?
yes.
Okay.
You're right on. The one that's paved is all built, done, and I wasn't here the night you guys approved, but I guess you guys voted to make it private.
Can you, you guys, the board?
Well, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So, with that said, I don't know what the procedure is at that point. The subdivision originally was approved as a 22-lot subdivision, and now it's been changed to a private extension road, which I'm okay with if it stays private, or if you tell me it's gonna go public. I just need direction, because those 3 lots I never came in for. We built the entire subdivision cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac. I built the extension road on this side, I think in '07. All inspected, it's all built. I didn't want to start that until I finished up the rest of the houses and get the place done. Well, I'm coming down to that now. So I need to know how we're gonna work it, or what we're going to do, or you're gonna tell me what to do. Because I'm lost on this one.
We're
Do
gonna,
you have a plan with you?
I didn't bring the extension road plan with me.
It's downstairs, do you want it?
Well,
I don't even know about the extension road. I think,
are you saying that the whole subdivision's supposed to remain?
No, just that extension road. And I understood why you did it that night. I wasn't here. Maureen had told me that you'd voted to keep it private, which I understand it, because it's such a small road, and it's hard for a plow truck or something to go down and...
okay,
That's right, we don't want to plow, and especially if something isn't paved. We
Right.
wanna-
No, it is, that one is
Yeah.
paved.
okay, but that doesn't have a turnaround.
It has a small turnaround.
It has a small turnaround, but we have big trucks. So you're not looking for all of it, you're not asking about all, you're just asking for those roads?
Just those 3 lots and that
They,
piece.
they have to stay. They have to stay, they're not gonna be accepted as townways.
And I'm okay with that. I didn't come in for that issue. The issue is now I need to get them released, though. They're on private way, but I need the release from the town. When I came in for the bond originally to 22 lots, those 3 lots were
We're
not,
not on that.
because originally it was a public way. Then you guys just recently voted to make it private. So I need to get this straightened out so I can straighten out with Dennis, because I'm having a tough time with Dennis. With the frontages and the private way and,
Okay, we approved those extensions, one being gravel because that is all that's ever gonna get built there.
we agree on that.
The one that's paved, was there potential of it continuing?
No,
Is
it's all
there,
wetlands behind it. You can't go any further.
but why was that one being paved? There was a reason.
At the time,
The other one not being paved. There was a reason for one of them.
Yeah, there was a reason for, and one was 20 feet?
well, the reason they did it, one goes further back, so they could have the 3 lots like this. The other one don't even drive on the private way because there's a big
Correct,
cul-de-sac. So they
correct.
didn't need
But they
it.
needed the frontage.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's the only reason why one's paved and one's not. So I mean, I don't care which way you tell me to do it, I'm fine with it. You just gotta direct me.
So how many houses are you building altogether?
In the whole project,
Yeah,
there's 22,
okay. So you're talking about,
just 3. It'll
okay,
be on a private road,
okay. And it's 3 out of the 22,
correct,
and the 22 was approved.
correct.
And so what are you having a problem with the building department?
Well, right now, those are not released on the original bond when I came in for the bond request. 3 lots were not on the list.
So,
Well, that's,
if
they
we'd give you a Form J release
I'm all set.
if we have the money sufficient to do the work,
Well,
whatever
that's-
work is left that needs to be done.
and again, on those 3 lots, there's not gonna be any work because it's all
Private road.
staying private.
Well, yeah, but it can be a private road, but we still
Still.
want, you know, if drainage needs to go through there or whatever.
Well, that's
Whatever's
one
on
of the things
the-
I wanted to bring up now. John Schmidt inspected the entire construction of that extension road, because at that time, you guys hadn't made it private. You just recently voted to make it private. So it's all done, the road is completely done, hydrants, drainage, sewer, electrical is all in. I'm done.
So if we had our
So now
engineer,
you see why I'm here tonight, because I don't know what to do.
if we had our engineer go out there and verify that and say, yes, it is completely done and it's gonna remain private, so there's nothing left to do, I would think we'd release the lots.
And there should be something in the files, I'm sure he submitted, because I paid him to go out and inspect every inch of that road as we built it.
All right, now I'm getting a little confused. The section that we just approved 3 weeks ago, the piece that is paved,
Yes,
you're telling me that that has drainage, hydrants, and everything on that
done.
side? Then
Detention pond and all built.
why was that being asked to be private? That wasn't
I
presented in
never
front of
asked
us.
it. You guys voted it that night. I never
What
requested
did,
it.
Okay.
what did you come in for?
Just a modification, because on the 2 cul-de-sacs, the big cul-de-sacs that exist, there was a straight line. And Dennis was saying those extension roads can't be part of the public way because there's no break in the line.
Right.
So I had the engineer remove that line,
Excuse me.
remove out the line on the 2 cul-de-sacs to show the extension roads is one road.
See, I thought those weren't built yet.
Yeah, all done.
Well, I'd like to take a ride out there, because if that's completed and it's safe for turning around, that piece that's paved, I think should be part of the whole subdivision.
I don't think you're gonna want to do that. I don't care, it's up to you, you're welcome to it, I'm just saying for the highway guys to plow that and turn the truck around, tough. To me, whatever you guys want is fine with me.
I would still like to take a ride, because how many houses is on that
Just
piece?
3,
On that, there's 3 on that piece.
yep,
There are 3 houses or there are 3 buildable lots?
3 buildable lots, yeah, 3.
You can't get a building permit, that's why
I
you're
haven't
here.
asked for one yet, I'm just trying to clean all the stuff, because we're coming, I wanna finish the
Right,
project
right.
and get it bond released
Right.
and clean the place up.
And you won't get it, right, and he won't issue a building permit. But still, don't you think we would, if it has the hydrants and sidewalks and
There's no sidewalk, that's a waiver, there's nothing to, it's kind of like a driveway in a sense for these 3
well,
houses.
let's keep it private then. And if they have issues with plowing, then
So, do you want to take his word for it? Do you want to go drive
Oh,
by? Or do you want to have an engineer sign off on it?
no, I can take a ride by. I don't think, if it's gonna be maintained private, I'll drive by. It's on the plan, we already approved the plan, so if the plan is,
We approved the modification plan, right?
Yeah.
and that's just taking out those 2
And it says
connections.
on either the plan or our vote that those 3 lots will remain, or that roadway will remain
Yes.
private.
Yes.
Did that get put on the plan?
Ye-
No.
She's the
It's
one that
on a certificate
contacted
of
me.
action.
It's on the certificate of action?
It was
Can-
on the plan.
Can
It'd be
we
nice
have
if
it
it was
put
on
on,
the plan, too.
because that's gonna
Yeah.
get recorded. It should be on at least the final Mylar that's gonna be recorded.
And one of the reasons I asked to come tonight is because I have 2 buyers, and I want to get in front of them. This is going to be private, I'm going to do a little association paper, so they have to maintain and take care of that little extension road.
Exactly.
So I need to clarify it all now, so there's not anybody screaming and yelling later.
So, I'm comfortable with just doing the Form J, but something outside of that, having it on the plan is huge, because if somebody does a title search, it's gonna be on the plan, boom, it's right there, they're not gonna come back to the selectmen or us and say, hey.
Well, I'm gonna form association because I'm gonna have to, there's 3 houses, a little thing, and it's gonna go with each deed. So I cover myself, so there's no,
Mhm.
you didn't tell me stuff.
Okay, but I'd still like to see it, if we could do a letter just asking to have that.
Oh, I'll have the engineer put it right on. I
Yeah.
haven't recorded the Mylar yet because I didn't know what was going on.
Well,
And sometime in the next 2 weeks, you'll drive by, and if you
Oh, yeah.
report back.
I'd like to meet you out there, and I can show you everything that's on Extension Road, where everything is and everything, and show you.
If you can give Maureen has your numbers and stuff?
Yes, she does.
If I have any questions when I'm out there, I'll give you a call.
Okay.
It's easy just for me to drive by them.
Now, the dirt Extension Road, while we're here, I figured I'd kind of bring that up. Dennis is in the impression, and I am gonna go see Dennis in the morning, and I know he's had back surgery, it's been hard for me to talk to him since you guys approved the plan. He's under the assumption that the highway guy has to plow the gravel other extension road that no one's ever gonna use. It's gonna end up grass eventually, because it goes to 495, there's nothing there.
Well, the highway doesn't have to pave it because it's private.
I'm
We're not,
agreeing.
we're not maintaining it, we're not taking care of it. Is there a house on that over there? So
The
there's no house
driveway's-
The frontage is on that.
Some of the frontages, a portion of the frontage, but the rest of the frontage and the driveways are all.
Okay, but is that house built,
After the pave.
is that house built yet?
No.
Then I suggest that house.
One is, excuse me, 17 is, lot 16 isn't.
So the one that you're showing frontage on that private way, you're gonna have to do an association also.
Well, they don't need to use it for access on that one.
It's
Their
just-
driveways are coming off the big cul-de-sacs at the end of the subdivisions. It was only created to get like 30 feet of frontage.
It's kind of paper frontage.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So Dennis is under the impression, and he keeps talking about that I gotta create that gravel so that highway can plow that. I'm like, Dennis, where are they gonna plow to? 495's there.
Well, we would.
I need somebody to talk to him.
Well, if it's something that, I'll take a ride out there, and if it's a matter of just having Form Js, we can do that, and at the same time, we can provide a letter, along with our approval. And right, it's gotta be right in the approval, it's gotta be maintained.
Oh, it is, it's been forwarded, it's there.
It's gotta be
I'm not
maintained
getting
private.
anywhere.
Yeah, no,
So if it's gonna be maintained private, then if he has issues with that after the point, then he can always call me and do you know, has he voiced,
no, I haven't spoken to him about it. since
so,
he's back.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to Paul, which was why he was out, and I spoke to the secretary a couple of
Jen.
times. Yeah, and she said, well, you've done everything. Before I came here, he gave me a punch list of what he wanted. The line taken out, he wanted gravel written on the thing, he wanted it narrowed to 20 feet. I did everything. And now we're going into the cycle.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. We'll take a ride, I'll take a ride over there.
Okay.
Do you have Form J's? I'm sure you can.
I haven't done anything. I just came in as an informal
Right,
thing
well, why
tonight
don't you
to
get,
tell
three-
me,
you're
see
gonna
what
need
you want
what,
me to do.
you're gonna need 3 Form J's,
Okay.
fill out 3 Form J's, and,
One for each lot, or one?
3 lots and 2 lots. You got 5 lots, you haven't, no, you got one of them.
I only need 3 lots released.
he needs 3,
Don't you need 3 and 1?
Nope,
because that's coming off of
exactly.
that
Well, you
cul-de-sac, which
said
was already,
16 and 17. I
but
thought you
those
said
were already
one.
released,
They were already released.
Those are
originally.
released.
Yeah,
Okay,
those are
so we
released.
just need a Form J for 3 lots.
just for those 3.
Okay, 3 lots.
Now, is it okay for me to form an association after speaking to you guys tonight for those other 3 lots to let people know they're gonna stay private? Is
That's
that-
your doings, that's.
Well, I'm just saying, are
We
we all the
certainly
same?
don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
Okay, because the way it was voted on the last hearing is it was gonna stay private. And I'm okay with it, like I said, I just need to know what direction to tell the buyers of what is gonna happen.
no, leave it private,
Okay?
form the association, and make sure that it's on the Mylar, and we would like to,
I will have the Mylar come back in for Maureen. to
when you
review.
bring, yeah, so when we're approving those releases, I want to see that we have it on the Mylar at that time,
No problem at all.
because I agree, if that, they look it up, at least it's right there.
Well, it's good for all of us, because then at that point, they can't come back later and say, you didn't
Right.
tell me.
Right, so, yeah, so, we're not, again, we're not in the position, we're not looking to tie you up and delay you.
I know that, I just
anyway.
wanted,
And it's been unfortunate, Dennis, has been out for injury. So,
but I think he's kind of complexed here that we can't do what we're doing, and I keep hearing, well, the planning board can't do this, and I'm like, Dennis, I don't know, it's approved. I don't want to sit and argue with
Yeah,
him, so I
okay.
kind of say nothing. So,
okay.
all right, I will get the stuff tomorrow evening then, and if you have any questions down there, I can meet you if you'd like, or whatever.
Yep,
All right, thank you.
sounds good. Thank
Thank
you.
Yep.
Okay, invoices. I don't see any invoices.
No invoices?
Minutes, Burke. We have,
Make a motion that we waive the reading and approve the minutes of Thursday, May 2, 2013, and Thursday, June 20, 2013.
Seconded.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence? I have one correspondence, just, that was from the last meeting about that Aspen Hollow, that parcel, that little strip on Aspen Hollow.
Yep.
And I didn't throw this away, so it must be a reason for me to bring this up. What did we decide on,
I talked to Randy about it. The paperwork on the road acceptance hasn't been done yet. I think it was forwarded to Mark. That's on my list to check with Randy next week, to try to move it along. Mark has to approve the deeds. And also to see if that strip was included.
exactly, that was
Right.
that was,
That was the one, yeah.
right, that was the reason for me holding this. Can you let us know when you, okay. That was all that I had saved. I had the other Forge River saved too, but we're still waiting for Mark's decision on that, about the 13,000. Is that gonna be used for us to continue give him frontage because the town had taken it, or is that gonna be used to fix the roads?
Yeah.
Other than that,
That's the Forge Estates issue, the occupancy.
Or does this have
oh, this is Bell,
That's Bell.
this is the other, yeah, no, this is, what we spoke about earlier, that we, at our last meeting, we voted to,
So is that cleared up, or isn't it?
yeah, no, I'm, as far as
It
I'm
should be.
concerned.
Dennis just wants it confirmed in writing.
Okay, so you're doing a letter?
Yeah,
You're doing a letter?
she's gonna do the letter, just stating that the board, and I wanna, use the last special meeting that we had to date, when it was voted on, because that's when we were all there, and we voted on it. This is when we took that condo project, and they brought it in, we did the phasing, and then we agreed that by them putting up the cash bond money, that they met all of the planning board's requirements.
Oh, I have a question on that. We got the bond money today, John. Now, I understand you want a passbook with the town of Raynham and the condo association on it?
No, we decided,
Or is it,
no,
because the check came in from a certain LLC?
yeah, but we decided it was just gonna be made up to the town.
Okay, just the town?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, that makes it easier.
yeah, no, that was, because we said we're not gonna, if we have it, we can do what we want, we can give it to the association.
Okay.
And by not having the association on it, then we don't have to worry about
Good.
filling them in for whatever we're doing with it. All right, that's correct, right? Remember saying that? Anything else?
That's it?
Well, I'll enjoy this heat we're having, stay cool. Wayne, you keep that hat on for sweating. And that's it. July 18th meeting is now adjourned.